What's going on, guys? Corey from Yoda Expedition here. In this video, I'm going to show you how to install a light bar on your Sherpa roof rack. In this video, we're going to be using a 40-inch light bar from Baja Designs. We're going to be using the light bar brackets from Sherpa, which is going to make the install super easy. And then we have a wire hider from KC. It's going to run the wires up the side of your windshield, make everything look really clean. So let's go ahead and get into it. So going over quickly all the stuff we're going to be using for this install, we have a 40-inch light bar from Baja Designs. This is their S8 model light bar. And then to go with that, we have light bar brackets from Sherpa. And they have pretty much any bracket for all of the popular light bars that are on the market right now. And then using those, you know it's going to mount directly up to your roof rack and you're not going to have any problems. And then we have the KC wire hider. This is going to go right alongside the windshield, and you can tuck the wire harness in there and you're not going to be seeing wires hanging everywhere, and you don't have to be drilling a hole in your roof to run the wires inside. And then we have a universal harness here from Baja Designs. I'll put the part number for that right here on the screen. And for our application, this worked best. There is other harnesses out there that you can use that have switches built right in, but we're going to be tying this into our switch panel, so we don't need extra switches and stuff like that. We have everything right on our dash, so we're going to be using that. And then if you want to, you can make your own harness. The light bar comes with a plug and some crimps. You can make your own harness. You just need a power, a ground, and a switch leg. So that's another option you can go with. As far as tools go, it's pretty simple. We have a ratchet with an 11mm socket, a set of wire strippers, we have a Phillips head screwdriver, and then we have a 2.5mm Allen wrench. You might not need this, but we had to flip the logos on the light bar because depending on the orientation of where you're putting it on your roof, we had to flip those so that the Baja Designs read the correct way. So you might not need that, but we did. So the first thing I'm going to do is get the brackets from Sherpa on our light bar, and then we can go ahead and get that mounted onto our roof rack. So these are going to be an 11mm, and we're going to be mounting them in this orientation here. I'm just going to snug these up so we can adjust the light bar once it's mounted to the roof rack. So before I get the light bar up on the roof rack, I just wanted to show you kind of what's going on up there. So you can see here on our very front crossbar, we have T-nuts installed that come with the brackets from Sherpa. So you're going to have two over there, and you're going to have two over here. I still have to install the last one, and then we're going to be mounting our light bar brackets to this. All right, so let's go ahead and put in the last T-nut. Kind of move it over to the area where it needs to go. And then we'll grab the light bar and the brackets, and we'll get it started on here. All right, so the way that we're mounting this, we have the wire on the driver's side because our battery is over here on the driver's side, and that's why I had to flip these plates on the front that had the logos. So now I'm going to go ahead and try to get all of these lined up and get the bolts started in the T-nuts. It might be a little tricky. You might have to move them around a bit. It might be easier to have a second person so you're not holding the light bar while you're trying to do all this. But I got one started here. I'm going to go over to the other side and get that started. If you want to, blue Loctite on these bolts wouldn't be a horrible idea, just so you know that they're not going to come loose and your light bar is going to go flying down the road. Got that one started. Now I don't have to worry about holding the light. I just need to get the other ones lined up. That one's good. One more over here. And then I'm going to go ahead and center up the light bar on the crossbar. I mean, you only have, with this particular light bar and then these brackets, you only have like maybe a 1/4 inch of wiggle room. So I'll just center it up there. Tighten this down. This is going to be an 11 as well. Now I have this still loose or snug, so I can move this around. Once we get the light bar completely hooked up and I can see where the light is shining, then I'll go ahead and make my adjustments and tighten this down for good. All right, so we got the light bar mounted up onto our Sherpa roof rack, so let's go ahead and jump into wiring. So right here under the hood, we have our prototype tray with our switch panel assembly. You can see here we have, currently we have our Raptor lights hooked up to. But this makes things really easy and simple. You have power and ground coming from your battery. We have a circuit breaker here, 60 amp circuit breaker, and then that goes into your switch panel assembly. And then from there, you have a wire that runs inside, and then you can hook up everything in one spot. So that's how we're going to be hooking up the light bar today. So like I said earlier, I am using a universal harness from Baja Designs, and then I went ahead, I cut the ends off of it that came on the wire harness, spliced all of those, and then these can go directly into our switch panel. So I'm going to go ahead and get this all hooked up, get everything routed up to the light bar, and then we could put on the wire hider from KC, and we're pretty much finished. So on the 4Runner, what I'm going to be doing is pulling off this trim piece that goes on the top side of the fender, which is really easy. Just pull this front here out from the radiator cover. Once you have that out, you're just going to push this whole assembly back like that. And then you have one more clip back here that you need to push back as well. And then we can pull this out from the fender. And then I'm going to be running the wiring underneath this and then coming out here on the bottom of the windshield. This panel right here on the corner of the windshield, I'm also going to pop that out. Really easy. Put your fingers underneath it and push it up. You can pop it out of place. And then that gives you some room to put your wiring through. You just want to make sure that wherever you're putting the wire, it's not going to interfere with the hood hinge. You want to make sure that when you close it, it's not going to hit. So if I run it underneath this right here, hopefully we'll be fine. So I'm going to go ahead and start routing this through everything. Through there. There's an opening here. Route it through that. Make sure I have enough wire to reach on both sides. I'm going to go ahead and pop this back in place. Okay, now let's go ahead and hook this up to our switch panel. I'm going to go ahead and feed this through. All right, so we got our wiring through here. We have our power, we have our ground, and then we have this wire here. This is going to be for the backlight setting or the running light setting that the light bar has. So I'm going to be putting this on its own switch, possibly with the Raptor lights. So then both the Raptor lights and the backlighting on the light bar will come on at the same time. And then the light bar harness, the original light bar harness, runs a 30 amp fuse. So I'm going to be putting that into a 30 amp spot here on our fuse box. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and get this wired up. We're going to get our positive and negative here wired into this 30 amp spot. Go ahead and get that in there. There we go. We're done with that. We can go up and plug in our light bar. So let's go ahead and run this up. Let's go ahead and plug this in. Okay. And I'm going to tuck the rest of the wiring right here on the side. Probably put like a zip tie or something just to hold it in place so it doesn't go anywhere. And we'll go ahead and put on our wire hider. Well, before I go ahead and do that, let me just make sure that it works. So I'm gonna go ahead, turn the ignition on. There's our light bar. There's the back lighting. We have those tied in with our Raptor lights. So everything's working. I'm gonna go ahead and finish it up with the wire hider. So obviously before we install this, we wanna make sure that the windshield is clean. So I'm gonna go ahead and clean that off really good because the wire hider sticks on there with double-sided tape. And you wanna make sure it sticks the best that it can. And then obviously when you're going to install this, you want it to be as close to the edge of your windshield as possible. You don't want it to be in your view. You don't want your wipers to end up hitting it. So I'm gonna run it right here as close to this windshield trim as I can. All right, so that's nice and clean. Now we can take the wire hider and we can see how long we need it and cut it with some scissors. Make sure it's good before you go and cut it. So somewhere right around in there. I'm gonna get this cut real quick. So I got that cut to the length I need. This is the piece right here. The kit comes with, it's in there somewhere, a little alcohol pad. We're gonna use that. We're gonna be wiping the surface here on the bottom where we're gonna be sticking the double-sided tape. So this is clean. The windshield is clean. We're gonna put on the double-sided tape and stick it on. If you wanna use this to wipe the windshield, you can do that as well. So we're gonna let that dry. So now that that's dried off, we can go ahead, put on the 3M tape and get it up on the windshield. This might be a little tricky because this is naturally going to curve. You wanna make sure that you're sticking this on straight. So I don't know what I was thinking on the first time I put this tape on. I put it on the wrong section. There's actually, on the inside here, there's a channel where the tape's gonna be running, which I knew that. For some reason I overlooked it and I ended up putting the tape on this flat part here. So just know that it goes here on the inside. Also, the double-sided tape doesn't really stick to this rubber the best. I mean, it sticks, but you can easily peel it off. I think what I would do is maybe hit it with a heat gun first to make it extra sticky before you put it on there, but we'll see how it holds up. So let's go ahead and get this thing stuck onto the windshield. See, I'm even having problems with trying to peel the backing off of the double-sided tape. It's also peeling the tape off of the rubber. Come on. Yep. We'll get there eventually. Peeling off the double-sided tape is harder than the whole light bar install. Make sure you take your time when you're doing this and everything is kind of lined up where you want it to, because once you stick it down, you might have a problem getting it back off. Well, not necessarily with the way that this thing seems. Let's go ahead and tuck our wiring in there. This wire harness is a bit fat. There's only 3 wires in there. It might fit a little bit better if I took off the covering for the harness, but we'll make it work. Let's go ahead and get on our cover here for the side of the fender. Get all those slipped onto the clips. So once you have all your clips lined up, you can go ahead and push it forward, and then we'll tuck this back in here underneath. There we go. Get this cover back on our fuse box, and we're done. So that's gonna wrap it up for this install. Hopefully you guys liked it. Hopefully you learned something. If you did, make sure to hit that like button and that subscribe button if you're new to our channel. If you wanna pick up any of these products that we used in this video, they're all available on yodaexpedition.com, and our link is down in the description. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.